I'm Seth.
Megan.
This is Megan. Welcome to our as of unyet titled review show. We just saw the third episode of Game of Thrones season 8. I know we've never done a review for any other episode or anything else for that matter, but this is as good a place as any to start. Megan, how did you feel about tonight's episode?
Like I said on Facebook, the entire hour and a half I was on the verge of either having a heart attack or throwing up or both. From the minute the episode starts, the tension is unbearable. I think it's something like 10 minutes before we even see an enemy, before the battle even happens.
Right, it's just 10 minutes of
setup.
Everybody taking their place, everybody getting their weapons, everybody staring out into the dark void across the lawns of Winterfell.
And there's nearly no light in those first 10 minutes. It's just dark everywhere.
Yeah, which, it can make it hard to see, especially if you're watching in a room with any light in it, or if your TV's not great. There were a couple moments I genuinely really wasn't sure what was happening, which I know is what they're going for. You know, you want to do that chaotic battle feeling, but when there's this much action happening on screen, you know, you want it visible. You want to be able to tell what's happening. You want to know who's fighting, who's dying, where exactly the enemies are. I thought it worked really well for the most part.
Mm-hmm. And the scale is really impressive, and I think that's why sometimes you lose some of the details is the number of extras and people involved for this episode is absolutely insane.
Hundreds and hundreds of extras, possibly over 1,000 at some point.
And I'm sure they use some digital trickery to make them look like there's more, but
yeah, especially you can get away with that in those wide shots
and the really dark shots.
Most of the White Walkers were definitely not there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can get away with that in the dark. Fire is the primary source of light in this episode,
and
as it would be.
Beautiful orange, red glow everywhere.
Whether it's fire from torches, from burning arrowheads, dragon fire, and of course, so it bathes the scene in this, this red light. So it's blood red fire everywhere, contrasted with the blue snow.
Yes, I was gonna say you get that, the fire and ice.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got all the fire from everything, and then as the White Walkers arrive, as always, a big, misty, stormy ice cloud forms and rolls over.
Yeah, there are these couple great shots with when Daenerys and Jon are on their dragons and raining down fire in front of this blizzard, this ice tornado. It's beautiful cinematography, absolutely beautiful.
And the view overhead of Winterfell, especially once they light the trench, is just stunning. You just see this perfect outline of Winterfell. And
obviously I guess we're way into spoiler territory for
minor
this.
Spoilers.
Part of the battle plan is once things start to go bad, which of course they do
rather quickly.
They've dug this trench. They did in the previous episode. They dug this trench all around Winterfell. They're gonna fall back. They're gonna fill it with dragon fire. And of course there's some tension. Of course, is Daenerys gonna get there in time to fill it with fire?
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah,
she doesn't.
Right, but then okay,
Melisandre.
The Red Woman's in this episode. When was the last time we saw her?
Season 7. I recently rewatched season 7. That's the only reason I know. She's at Dragonstone, and she speaks with Varys and says that she's going to return to Essos, and she will return one more time. And when she does, she will die in Westeros.
Okay, I haven't rewatched Game of Thrones at all.
I did.
So I really didn't remember the last time I saw the Red Woman. I thought she came out of nowhere.
She often does.
It's almost like not quite like a Deus Ex Machina moment, but I was surprised to see her, and I was confused where she came from.
Yeah, I think had you rewatched, you probably would have been less surprised and would have expected her to return. Because if she's going to return and she thinks she's going to die when she returns, when else would she return except the battle at Winterfell?
The only characters in this episode who aren't in this episode are Cersei
and Euron
and Bronn. Those are the only characters not in this episode.
Pretty much everyone is at Winterfell at this point, so everyone. And Yara is not there.
And either. I really thought Bronn would have gotten here.
Nah,
because I thought the whole point of him getting the contract in the first episode to go kill Jaime and Tyrion is so that he would be at Winterfell too.
Mm-hmm. No, it turns out he is, and I could see that being Bronn's thing. He wants to wait and make sure they're not going to get killed by the undead army, if he's actually going to go through with it.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the Red Woman. So again, spoilers. If you're watching this and you haven't watched the episode, watch someone else talk about it.
Yeah, I guess we're just gonna go full on spoilers here.
It's impossible not to. There's just so much. But when Melisandre arrives, you get this moment of hope because she lights all of the Ankhs of the Dothraki.
Yeah, so the first phase of the battle plan is to send the Dothraki at the horde of White Walkers. So the Red Lady comes and she gives them all fire swords like
Thoros and Beric.
Beric and Thoros. Yeah, she gives them all their fire swords, and they charge into battle. And you don't get to see any of them die. I mean, they all die. But you don't get to see any of them all die. You just get to see it from afar.
So you watch as the fire from each of their weapons goes out little by little. And you hear, because Dothraki screamers. Mm-hmm. So you hear the screaming, but you aren't, it's not like, oh God, they're dying, because that's just what Dothraki do. And you just slowly hear the screams die down, and then the lights go out.
All the lights fade away. And then just a few horses run back. A few straggling Dothraki warriors
and
fall
Jorah.
back. Yeah, Jorah, he marched out with them with the sword of Sam's family. It's 96 minutes of action.
Yeah, so if you're going to watch it, sit down and, be committed to a very long episode. But after they do that, the next phase of the plan is just to defend outside Winterfell as long as possible, You definitely have several moments where you're convinced characters are going to die. Like, this is it. This is the end for them.
And some characters do die. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be a Game of Thrones episode, a Game of Thrones battle sequence, if characters didn't die.
I can't remember his name. We talked about him.
The Night's Watch guy. Yeah, the last remaining Night's Watch guy dies. Mm-hmm. He dies saving Sam.
Yes.
The Beric guy dies.
Beric Dondarrion dies saving Arya and the Hound.
He dies Jorah dies
protecting
Daenerys.
Which we'll get to how that comes about, because that's also some really interesting stuff. And then so we move to Winterfell because everyone's falling back. It's not going well.
No, everyone's dying.
So we fall back to the castle. And initially they man the walls, they're shooting arrows, and there's that one frame, more or less, that gives me very World War Z vibes. Oh yeah, the zombies start climbing each other. Mm-hmm. First, they figure out they can get over the fire trench by some of them just sacrificing themselves. And making a person bridge.
And making a corpse bridge. And so they run over the corpse bridges, and then they start climbing up the towers. Jaime and Brienne, they're mostly the ones we see manning the walkways up there.
Yep, and then we see Arya.
Mm-hmm. She was that double-edged weapon that Gendry made for her.
And then that splits in half.
Yeah, and she takes out more than her fair share.
Oh, absolutely. But then she gets grabbed by one, she stumbles, she gets hurt, and then she kicks into survival mode.
Yeah, she's on the run for a good... I mean, I don't know how long it goes on, but it's great.
And she does some, very, water dance. We get to see her return to her water dance moves where she's in this, library.
And she has to sneak around, five or so White Walkers. Mm-hmm. They're all just... It's like a... I thought of a stealth sequence, in a video game. That's exactly
absolutely
what it's like. But it's, a great one. They're wandering around, and you just see them dragging their weapons across the floor and stumbling real slow. Mm-hmm. And Arya, she's peeking around corners. She's rolling on the floor, hiding under tables.
And she does well. She gets out of that room, but immediately after she gets out of the room, they come busting through the door she just left and the door next to her. And then she's running from a horde of the dead. And
then she meets back up with the Hound. The Hound was ready to just give up.
Yep,
and
he
fight.
had surrendered.
But then Beric points out to him that Arya is in danger. And so then now he's ready to risk his life to go save her.
Mm-hmm. So they all meet up, and Beric sacrifices himself so the Hound and Arya can kind of escape. They get into the main hall of Winterfell, and Melisandre's there. And Melisandre says something that turns out to be very cryptic.
Yeah, she told Arya that she would kill someone with brown eyes, with green eyes, and with blue eyes.
But she referenced early on when Melisandre first met Arya. She had looked at her and told her that she was going to close many eyes forever.
Yeah.
And she, they met again for the first time since then. They brought that up, and yeah, she mentions the blue eyes, and she gives Arya a look. And then Arya runs off, and then we don't see Arya for a very, very long time.
Yeah, she runs off screen, and then she hasn't seen again for most of the remainder of the episode.
Yes.
You almost forget about her.
Yeah, so while Arya's off doing whatever, everyone's still fighting. Mm-hmm. And Jon and Daenerys manage to seemingly take down the undead dragon. Yeah,
Jon and Daenerys, they sort of tag team the Night King and his blue-eyes white dragon in the sky.
And then they both end up outside of Winterfell. First, Jon ends up down there. And then Daenerys shows up on Drogon, and she sees just the Night King because they threw him off of the blue dragon.
And so Daenerys decides to test to see if the Night King is fireproof. And he is.
Yes. So she does Dracarys, and he doesn't burn. And she just kind of looks horrified.
And the Night King has this smirk on his face.
It is a beautiful moment.
Has the Night King ever smiled before?
I don't think so.
I don't think he has either.
But it's like this perfect, subtle, tiny smirk that just like, you thought it was going to be that easy? And so, Daenerys flies off because he preps to throw another one of those big old arrows to take down Drogon.
Ice spears or ice javelins. So Daenerys flies away. And then Jon decides this is his chance to run up from the Night King from behind and kill him dead.
But as he finally gets close to the Night King stops, turns around, and does that hand-raising thing.
And all the bodies, all around them, just rise.
All the Dothraki and the Unsullied and all the Northmen who had fallen.
And even Lady Mormont. Lady Mormont bites it in this episode.
Yes, we skipped that part. She takes down a giant.
Yeah, a zombie giant busts through the main gate of Winterfell, knocks Lady Mormont out of the way.
But then she runs at it screaming, it picks her up, and she stabs it through the eye.
Crushing her, and she stabs
Very much a David Goliath moment. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. A great end to Lady Mormont's story.
So anyway, back to outside the Winterfell.
With Jon and the Night King.
So now Jon's surrounded by undead. And he's doing his best.
And they let the tension build up just enough.
Very Battle of the Bastards kind of reminiscent.
And then Daenerys shows up and just rains down fire on all the corpses.
And then she clears the way, and Jon realizes Night King's here. He's coming for Bran. I gotta go help Bran. So he gives Daenerys a look, and she's like, go. But Daenerys is so distracted by the undead being risen and distraught about it that she hasn't noticed that they're climbing Drogon now, and coming after her, and just violently stabbing Drogon again and again and again.
It's like a swarm of ants on a piece of candy. He's covered, they're just stabbing him on all sides, and he flies off and he shakes them off, and you're not sure what his fate is until later in that episode.
And in that moment, he also throws Daenerys off.
Yeah, and so then she's surrounded by the undead army.
Outside of Winterfell. And at that moment, you are like...
But then who comes to save her?
Jorah.
Ser Jorah.
Of course, Ser Jorah. He
shows
up.
Faithful protector.
And there's some really great scenes with, all the undead rising inside of Winterfell. And, our few characters that we're focused on, Samwell and Brienne and Jaime. And they're just overwhelmed by the undead at this point. Pressed against the walls.
I really thought this was going to be Brienne's last stand.
Yeah, and it looks like
kill her.
It looks like everyone's last stand. And when he raises his arms outside of Winterfell, something everyone was calling happened. The undead the dead in the crypt.
Where all the weak or the old and the sick and the children are fighting. I really thought for a second they were going to get Sean Beam back and put him in White Walker makeup.
They didn't bring him back.
No, I think that would have been great. Like if Sansa had to try and stab her dad zombie. That would have been great.
But we do get a nice moment with Sansa and Tyrion.
Yeah, they're hiding behind one of the crypts in the corner,
and
while everyone's running for it.
They don't say anything. They pass some looks. Sansa pulls out the blade that Arya had given her, and you get this moment of like, if I'm going down, I'm going down fighting.
Tyrion kisses her hand, and
they're sure it's the end.
I thought they were going to do like a suicide pact. I thought they were going to kill themselves.
I didn't figure that would be their thing.
That would have been a bold thing to do, is just kill Sansa and Tyrion right there.
Yes. But, we see them kind of fighting and hiding in the crypt, and then, we're going back and forth between Daenerys and Jorah outside of the walls fighting off the undead, and Jon trying to fight his way to Bran, and, the undead dragon wasn't actually dead yet.
Nope, he comes
so it's back. It's got holes in its throat, so there's fire spitting out of the hole. It's beautiful.
The beautiful blue flames that makes this wonderful Star Wars sound.
Jon just can't make any progress getting past it. And he's, again, at that moment where I got to do something. And we cut back over to Bran and Theon, which we haven't mentioned yet.
This whole time, Theon and some of the Greyjoys have been fighting off the White Walkers. Their plan was to
defend Bran.
Yeah, Bran was going to be at the Weirwood Tree, and he was going to lure the Night King to him. And Theon, he takes out dozens of White Walkers all by himself.
It's definitely a big moment of redemption for Theon.
The Night King and his posse of generals shows up, and Theon makes his last stand, charges at the Night King with a spear, gets stabbed right through the stomach.
And for a moment, you think maybe Theon will get this opportunity to be the one to kill Night King. No, he dies. And you're just kind of left with this moment, and it flashes to each of your characters, and they're all right there.
And this beautiful, somber violin piano music.
Very, again, reminiscent of Battle of the Bastards.
Starts playing as the Night King marches towards Bran, just sitting there in his wheelchair. And I thought, is Bran going to do some kind of
magic?
The third eye raven, third eye blind, 3-eye raven magic to do something. But no, and then it cuts to one of the generals, and his hair whisks to the wind, and he sort of looks off to the side. And then we see over the Night King's shoulder
none other than Arya Stark flying through the air at the Night King.
But the Night King turns around and grabs her by the throat.
And for a moment, you're like, no!
Oh my god, it's the end of Arya Stark.
We had someone who's going to finally kill the Night King, But then, calling back to a couple moments where it's happened, she drops her weapon out of her one hand, catches it with the other, and stabs him right in the belly.
Yeah, and as they talk about the creators at the end of the episode, she stabs him where he was created,
which is the only way to kill him. It's just a perfect moment because, as we mentioned, Arya disappeared 20 minutes ago. We haven't seen her. We've been so busy with everybody else and getting this feeling of, oh my gosh, they're just gonna kill everyone off.
And that's how you make a surprise twist like that work, is you have to forget about the character who does it.
Yes, and it works perfectly. And so Arya does it, and we watch as everyone shatters. All the undead, they shatter.
It's awesome.
It's beautiful, and just the look of relief on everyone's faces, Arya just being like, "Oh my god, I did it! I took out the Night King."
Daenerys has a beautiful moment after all the White Walkers explode into Avengers dust. Jorah just collapses on the ground from the. He's tired.
He got stabbed in the gut.
He got stabbed in the gut. He's got his arm slashed. His head's bleeding.
Yeah, for Ser Jorah.
So they all explode. He collapses to the ground. Daenerys cries over his dying body.
And then you just kind of get left with this feeling of
And the last thing that happens in the episode is the red woman walks out,
removes her choker,
and slowly turns into the ancient woman that she is, and collapses on the ground dead.
And definitely leaves you with questions.
I had forgotten that she is actually an obscenely old woman.
You wonder if, the whole show, you often feel like the Lord of Light is like real.
Because, oh yeah, he's got to be.
Because so many of the things that Melisandre and Thoros and Beric do work.
Yeah, something gives her magic powers.
And so you're left wondering, like, is he real?
I think it's one of those. It's a great little. It adds to the lore of the show. It's this unexplained thing. You don't really want to know if the Lord of Light is real.
But you're like, because she's actually really ancient and she has that amulet, even though she's ancient, was she always intended to come to this battle? Mm-hmm. And that's why, she didn't get brought back from the dead. Instead, she was immortal as long as she wore the amulet.
Final thoughts. I'm glad the Night King never speaks. I'm glad we never hear him say anything.
Like I said when it was over, I think hands down best episode of Game of Thrones.
Not best episode of Game of Thrones for story, but best episode of Game of Thrones for emotion.
Best episode in general. I think it's so complex and it's perfectly done.
There's only 3 episodes left now.
I can't. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. But there's so much that could go wrong with the scale of this episode and the complexity, and so many opportunities to overdo the battling or overdo death scenes, and they don't. It's just...
No, and that's the thing. As they mentioned this, and I read people talk about it before this episode, they promised it was going to be the longest action sequence ever put to film or video now. And it's like, oh, well, that's going to get so boring. It's just 96 minutes of action. Well, 96 minutes of action could have been incredibly boring.
Absolutely.
But this episode's not boring because there's other things happening besides men just in armor fighting zombies. With swords. There's the bit with Arya.
There's stages.
There's Theon's battle within the Weirwood Tree defending Bran. There's Jaime and Brienne fighting on the wall.
Then there's Daenerys and Jon and their dynamic. Flying through the air.
It's very well paced.
There's lots of moments where, like, when the ice storm first rolls in, they lose sight of each other and they lose sight of really everything. And they're like crashing through trees, and it's really interesting because they're a step away from the battle, and you're worried about Jon and Daenerys. One point they flying back into the ice storm and are looking for the Night King, and Night King nearly gets them with his dragon, and there's just lots of moments on Dragonback that are really interesting and give you some space from the battle. And Jon's dragon gets pretty badly injured, and Drogon initially, he gets stabbed a lot. So initially you're like, oh my gosh, are all the dragons done? Like, are they going to kill off all the dragons now?
I thought they might. We might end the show with no dragons.
But at the end, while Daenerys is having her moment with Jorah, Drogon shows back up and kind of curls around her the way he does. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, whew, Drogon's alive. But I don't know about Jon's dragon.
No, it falls to the ground and then we don't see him again.
No, yeah, because Jon gets off of him to, go after the Night King. But there's actually a lot of characters you end the episode not really knowing for sure what their fate is.
Like Gilly
and Baby Sam.
Like I said, I think if they had died, they would have drawn attention to that.
I'm just not so sure because they were down the crypt and a lot of the people down the crypt didn't make it.
Yeah, but you just do it in the next episode when they're like recounting the like, oh, Gilly is dead.
Yeah, and we'll know for sure. But Tormund, I lost track of him at some point.
Yeah, we don't see him much during the battle. I assume they also would have drawn attention to his death.
Yeah, it was just so much at times that they might have. At one point, I thought Sam was dead because he was just like laying on top of a pile of.
I thought Brienne was gonna die right there in the beginning.
There were several moments where, so we'll have it for sure of who's alive next episode. And next episode won't look nearly as red or dark. It's going to be a little weird.
I think they're going to go back to filming in the daytime.
Yeah, maybe you get the little preview for next episode. Get to see some Cersei action. What are your hopes for the next episode?
Well, with only 3 episodes left, these 3 episodes have to be about getting to King's Landing and dethroning Cersei somehow. So I guess in the next episode, they're going to just start their march to Winterfell, or for the sake of expediency, as these last 2 seasons have done, The episode might even begin with him already halfway to King's Landing.
See, I'm convinced at this point that because they don't have an army anymore.
I think some of the Unsullied are left.
Yeah, but most of them...
All the Dothraki are dead.
All the Dothraki are dead. A lot of the Northmen are dead. I mean, not a lot of the military survived.
No.
So I'm convinced at this point it may just be Jon and Daenerys flying into King's Landing to cook up some queen.
They might take a couple people with them.
Yeah.
A couple people who's left.
Yeah, because there's not many people left to form a real assault on King's Landing.
I have no idea what these last 3 episodes could possibly be, and Sunday can't get here fast enough.
Yeah, which these weeks have been flying by. What do you think the end is going to be?
My predictions for how the last episode ends? Oh, well, I really want to believe that in the end, Jaime kills Cersei. I think that would be the most perfect thing that happened. Jaime kills the Mad King. He also kills the Mad Queen, his sister, his lover, the mother of his children, who are all dead. Jaime's gonna stab her in the front, maybe, to contrast stabbing the Mad King in the back. Gonna kill her while looking her in the eyes. As to who gets the Iron Throne, I don't know. Let's say Bran. King
really
Three-Eyed
curious.
Raven, first of his name.
I was very convinced Bran was going to die.
I was too.
It is still possible.
It is possible.
The season's not over yet.
I know, but what's possibly left for his character? And for that matter, why is Davos still alive? I've wondered that for several seasons now. Because I don't know, I just think he's such a nothing character, really.
Gendry's another character you lose track of in all the battling.
Yeah, you only really see him in the beginning when they're prepping for the fight, and then I really
and
don't...
Podrick.
You see Podrick very briefly at the end when Jon is running through Winterfell to try to get to Bran. You see him pushed up against a wall when they do a shot of Jaime and Brienne.
Oh, he's the third one.
And you see, that's Podrick.
Okay, so, Tormund lost track of him. Gendry lost track of him.
I really think you only see Gendry in the first 10 minutes.
So I'm really curious to see, in the next episode, them all come together and figure out who's alive, who's dead, and make a plan for how they're going to get rid of Cersei now, and how they're going to deal with the Golden Company. That,
and how are Jon and Daenerys going to reconcile that they are
niece
aunt and nephew, and maybe Jon will have to kill Daenerys in the end.
No, they'll work it out.
Yeah, they'll work it out. They'll put aside their differences.
They'll just roll together.
Yeah, they'll just create a second Iron Throne.
Not like incest is anything new.
Well, not for the Targaryens.
No, and I mean, not for the Lannisters either.
No.
It just happens. Yeah, I see them working together because even though obviously Daenerys fought alongside the Northerners and all that, and most of the Northerners are dead, Sansa's not willing. At least not yet.
She might come around in the next episode. Yeah. I don't know, or by the end.
So, best way to get her on her side, marry Jon. Call it a day.
I don't know. I can't wait to see what the writers have cooked up.
All right. It's been half an hour.
It has been half an hour. Will we be back here next Sunday?
Might attempt it. I don't know.
4?
I don't know if I can handle much more. All right. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us ramble about what the episode was about and some of our thoughts about it. I guess check out our channel as this goes along. We'll try and post more.
Yes, well, there'll be one video on the whole channel. So check them all out.
Yep. And, if you like it, hit that subscribe button, and that way you'll get notified when we upload some more stuff.
If we ever do.
All right. Megan?
I'm Seth.
And thanks for watching.